Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. We have a very special guest joining us today. We have Lauren Jennifer. How's it going today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing really good. Like we were saying before we jumped on here, I feel like we've been trying to do this for a very long time, but in reality, I don't think it's been too long. So,
I mean, it feels like forever, so we're just going to
right.
stick with that narrative.
Fair, very fair. But excited to have you here. Excited to sit down and chat. Um, I've really enjoyed your new single, Witches, which has been out for a little bit now at this
Yeah,
point,
a couple
but
of weeks now.
it's I think I told you when we first really started getting this podcast like locked in that it reminded me of like an old school sea shanty type.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you did.
So it's a good song. I enjoy it. So I'm excited to sit down and chat with you.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you like it.
Yeah. So you're based out of the UK. You're in Suffolk,
I
correct?
am. I'm basically. If have you heard of Ed Sheeran? Of course,
Yes.
you have. Everyone's heard of Ed Sheeran. I'm from where Ed Sheeran's from, basically.
Nice. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up there?
It's all right. It's my hometown. I love it. It's very small and there is not a big country scene here at all. Like for metal bands, it's brilliant, especially in the past couple of years. Like we've got some amazing promoters around. But for Americana country, Ipswich is not the vibe.
Fair. Very fair. I get it. It's I mean each area has its own like scene, and
Mm.
if it's metal, country, Americana, whatever it is, and it's always hard to kind of go against the grain. So I 100% understand. So
If you're a
how'd
metal
you
fan, come to Ipswich.
okay, sweet. I'll have to I'll have to write that note down if next time I or not next time when I come out to the UK. So
Yeah.
Um, so growing up in Ipswich, was your family musical, or how did you kind of get introduced to country music or
So
Americana?
country music was strange. I never realized growing up that I was listening to country music because my first exposure to it was growing up listening to Patsy Cline in my granddad's car. To me, that like as a little girl, that was just granddad's really awesome old music. Like I didn't fit it into a genre box
Mm.
until I was much older, and then I sort of understood, and I was like, oh, that's country. But with I grew up in a musical family. I first performed on stage when I was 4 years old in a pantomime called Aladdin. Do you have pantomimes in America?
Um, maybe, but they might be considered something different.
Mm. They're
So,
like silly shows. You usually have them around Christmas time here in the UK,
okay.
and they're based off like fairy tales.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first one I did was Aladdin, and I just fell in love with being on stage. And I did that because my nana and my mum were in the group that did it.
Mm.
So we're a very musical family, and musical theatre was my first love musical wise. That's what I thought I was going to do. And then I got older and started writing songs and
Fair.
moved on.
Very fair, very fair. So country was kind of the what you listened to with you said your grandfather, correct?
Yeah, my granddad, he'd play things like Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn in his car all
Okay.
the time. And like some of the great Johnny Cash,
Mm.
like the absolutely like brilliant, like top tier
Hmm.
of country music. And I just fell in love with it. And it was the storytelling that really drew me in. Like to me, no genre does storytelling like Americana, like roots
Hmm.
music, like blues, country. You
Yeah.
can't beat it. And that's what really drew me to that genre of music.
Fair. Nice, nice. And so then was there like a moment while you were doing the pantomime or I'm guessing it's probably similar to like what we'd consider like community theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Was there a moment where you realized like, hey, this isn't for me, or like I need to do something else, or was it just kind of like a gradual as you got older, you got less interested?
So it's actually a little bit of a sad story, to be fair. Um, I always thought I was going to end up like on the West End, which is like the UK equivalent of Broadway. That was always
Mm.
my dream. And my nana growing up was my biggest fan, my harshest critic. And when she passed away, I felt like she took my voice with her. And I stopped singing for about 2 years straight. Like I just stopped it altogether. It was too painful. And then I met my friend Charlotte, she is a massive country fan. And she invited me around her house because she'd just started a band at the time and asked me to like not give her singing lessons, but like performance lessons. Because obviously I've done musical theatre. I'm used to like
Yeah.
being dramatic on stage. And it sort of reintroduced country music to me, like the more of the modern stuff. And I was like, oh, I love this. I wonder if I could do this. But I was really scared of going on stage not being a character for the first time, because in
Mm.
musical theatre and doing stage shows like that, you're playing someone else. And that's how my name came along. So Jennifer is not part of my name. That's my nanny's name.
Mm.
So I took her name, put it with my name, and created Lauren Jennifer to give me the confidence to go back on stage and embark on this journey into becoming an Americana artist. So
Nice. That's really kind of that's always kind of an interesting topic about finding that moniker or that stage presence or stage persona, I guess is the best way to kind of word it, that
yeah,
kind of gives musicians that confidence where it's like, okay, I have myself back here over here. And then once I become Lauren Jennifer, I'm a completely different human being, or I have that confidence or whatever.
yeah,
So it's always really cool when musicians kind of find that switch.
yeah. And I like it. Like I put on the hat, put my boots on, mic in hand, and I'm ready. Like Lauren Jennifer is formed. She's ready to go. And I don't know, she's just a little bit more confident than just normal Lauren.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So on your Spotify, it says that Lauren Jennifer is a mix between Dolly Parton and Ozzy Osbourne, or you're the child of Dolly Parton and Ozzy Osbourne or something.
I did a show once and someone came up to me, his good friend now, Graham, and he said to me, if Dolly Parton and Ozzy Osbourne had a baby, the result would be you. Like, you're a goth cowgirl. And that's how like this goth cowgirl like that gets plastered everywhere. It's sort of my unique selling point now.
Okay.
That's where that was sort of born, because I look like this. I was, a proper little goth kid growing up. I had the eyebrows drawn up here, like shaved them off, black lipstick. But I'm up there singing like covers of Patsy Cline and Dolly Parton, and
Okay.
yeah, I love like mashing them two worlds together, because I think that as a society we can get so restricted by
Mhm.
like labels and genres, and you have to be this, so that means you can't like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, why? Like, if you've ever seen Shrek, when he gives the
Yeah.
speech about onions and he's like,
Yeah.
onions have layers. I can't
Yeah.
do a Scotch accent. I'm not going to try. But that's what I'm like. I've got layers.
Yeah.
Like, I like to look all witchy and gothic, and I like to sing country music, and I also like heavy metal music. Like, why
Yeah.
can't I be all these things? And why can't
Yeah.
I embrace all these things and wrap them all together and present it to the world?
Nice. I love that you're being authentically yourself because as we were talking, you'd mentioned that like Ipswich has kind of a more rock, heavy metal kind of scene. And I was kind of concerned that you were building this persona to kind of appeal to that metal audience. But you saying that this is 100% who you are, it's like,
Oh, this
okay,
is all me, baby. You go back through my Instagram and you'll see some of the old Goth Lauren pictures. Like, this
uh,
is all me. But it is quite funny because there's been a few people that have sort of seen me advertised on a poster, come to a gig expecting me to sing rock music. Then I'm singing the sort of music that I'm singing. And then afterwards, they've gone, do you know what? I really enjoyed that. Like, I was expecting you to start like singing like heavy metal songs, but I really enjoyed it. And then I've converted them to country fans. I'm like, yes, another one for the team.
nice. That's really cool. I was actually thinking, as we were sitting here talking, I was thinking about it. It'd be kind of a cool project slash experiment to kind of convert some heavy metal songs into country and just really mess with people.
Yes.
Like I think you could do it, but it'd have to be like the right songs. You couldn't do it with just like anything.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'm gonna look into that.
sweet. Um, so when you kind of made that transition from doing like stage plays and more Broadway style to doing your own music, was it did you or when did you kind of start experimenting writing your own music, or was it kind of like covers at first and then you moved into that?
So performance wise, gigs wise, it started off mainly covers. I
Mhm.
started posting covers on YouTube and online as well. But I have always written my own music.
Mhm.
It's always been like a sort of therapy to me. I suppose when I was younger, they were more like poems
Mhm.
compared to actual songs, whereas now they come to me and they're like, I can hear the instruments in my head. So it's always been something that I did. It just sort of, I suppose, with losing my nana and deciding to pursue sort of like a, I don't want to call it a normal music career, but
Right.
not a West End type
Yeah.
music career. That's when like my songwriting evolved, and I decided I wanted to release my own music.
Fair. 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 Uh, so do you still have like interest in doing like community theater or theater in general, or is that just like that's kind of gone and not necessarily forgotten, but
It's in my heart always. Like I have Les Mis tattoo on my ribs. It's something that I would love to tick off one day to say that
mm,
I've actually been able to perform in like a West End show or a Broadway show. That would be incredible. But my heart is with releasing
yeah,
my own music.
nice, nice. And so when did you start releasing music under the Lauren Jennifer kind of as yourself?
So it was just over a year ago. Full Throttle was released. I want to say it was like February the 26th,
Okay.
2023, something around that date. And yeah, so and then I've had two more singles released since then through the years, and the most recent one, Witches. So yeah, I've only been doing it for about a year, really.
Hey, you're doing really well. You know,
Thank you.
you witches caught my attention, or when I think I originally came across you on TikTok. That sounds about right. And you were kind of promoting witches, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at that time, I was kind of going through this weird rabbit hole of finding like the like you know how they'll do like covers of sea shanty songs, and then for whatever reason that song popped up, and I'm like, okay. And then I started listening to it. I'm like, yep, this is about on par. And I started. Then I went and I think I listened Full Throttle, or I found your Spotify and listened to Full Throttle after that, and it was really cool, and I'm glad we've gotten the opportunity to kind of finally connect.
Me too.
Uh, um, so with Witches out now, what's kind of the story behind that song?
So I wrote that a couple of years ago when Roe and Wade
Yeah.
was sort of brought back to the forefront, and it was all over the news. It was all over the news here.
Mm,
And I was just absolutely infuriated by it. Like the fact that in this modern day and age, like we as women are still being stripped of our fundamental rights, just it does not compute. Like it just doesn't. And the song just came pouring out of me. It was one of them songs that I wrote really, really quickly. Like I just sat down and boom, it came pouring out of me. And I never thought I'd release a political song.
mhm,
But to me, the reason why I release music is music has been one of them things that when I felt like I've had no one else, music's been there. Like it's
mm,
helped me through some of the darkest times. And that's the most powerful thing about music is it can help people. And I thought this subject is so important. Like, this is a fight that still needs to be fought. This song could help someone. So that once that fire was lit, I was like, yeah, I've got to release this.
Nice, nice, nice. And it were you with this song, it's to me, I don't know if it was intended or whatnot. It has a different sound than what like Through the Years or Full Throttle does. Was that intentional or is that just kind of what the song was and then it was a happy accident?
I wanted it to be a bit more of almost like a cinematic experience,
Hmm.
like immersive. I wanted you to feel the pain and the fear of what the women being taken to be burnt on the stake or
Mm.
drowned, which is, more correct, like felt back in the
Mm.
Salem witch trials. Like, I want you to feel how women throughout history have felt. And it felt right to me to sort of have that sort of that war drum sort of beat behind
Yeah.
it all, and like the screams behind it, because it's like a war anthem for women.
Hmm.
But I also wanted the song to terrify all the people who caused it to happen to be written in the first place.
Fair. Very fair. And now are you looking at doing a music video for this one? Because I know you did a music video for Through the Years. So
Quite possibly.
okay.
I'd like to, but I have very, very big ideas and a very, very small budget.
Fair.
The thing is, with the Through the Years video, that was literally just recorded. Me and my friend went to a beach near, like in Suffolk, and it
Mm.
was recorded on my phone. And then I sat and edited it here in
Yeah.
the sitting room. Whereas the idea for Witches, because I want it to measure up in impactfulness like
Mm.
the song does,
Yeah.
it's just having to, I don't know,
Yeah.
be able
Because
to do that within my budget. The
yeah, fair
joys of
enough.
being an independent musician.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Because in my head, I'm listening to the song and it's like, okay, I could see you kind of strap or tied to a stake in a fire pit and just kind of sitting there singing the song, and then you got like two other like backup singers that are pretending like doing the backup vocals for everything.
Yeah.
Just in my
Yeah.
head, it's like I could see it, and then I'm like, knowing what it costs to make all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be cheap. So.
Yeah.
But
It's it's
um
it's it's hard.
yeah,
But
it really is. But it's one of those things where it's a really good song, and if the opportunity ever does arise to do a music video, I'm glad you're kind of having a bigger vision for it. So
yeah, and I always do. Like, I'm very much a dream big person.
mm,
I like
nice.
to manifest, put things out in the universe, but it's how the songs come. A lot of the time, it's how the songs come to me. I'll have the instrumentation in my head, and I'm a very visual person.
Mhm.
Put your teeth in, Lauren. And I do, when I'm writing these songs, imagine how they'd look in a music video, because I
Mm.
think that helps me create the vibe that I want for the song and how it's going to sound. So maybe we'll have a witches video one day.
Fair, very fair. When you're writing music, what does that process kind of look like? I know you kind of described that you think about the visuals as you're writing. Do you are you more of a like a lyric will kind of spark everything, or are you more of like a guitar strum will spark it? Like what's kind of the process like for you?
It's definitely lyrics first. Um, I do play guitar, but not very well. I'm still learning to play guitar to a much higher standard. But it's definitely lyrics that come first to me. And as the lyrics come to me, the melody in my head, I'll know
Mm.
exactly how I'm supposed to sing them. And
Nice.
then if I'm able to put them like the chords to it, then I will. But more often than not, I go to my very good friend, John Chapman, who owns TGS Live Lounge, which is a great studio and rehearsal space here in Suffolk. And he helps me put my lyrics and the melody that I have in my head to a chord structure. And then we go and record it.
Nice, nice, nice. Where are you kind of at creatively right now? Obviously, Witches is out, and you want to kind of give that as much attention as you can, but where are you kind of at creatively right now? Are you writing, recording, getting ready to release another single?
I mean, I'm always writing. That's something I'm always doing. I think I've got all the songs that I want ready for the EP.
Hmm.
So it's just deciding. I'm thinking one more single and then maybe the EP release.
Nice.
It's just deciding on which of the ones that I want on the EP to be released next.
Gotcha. So will is which is kind of like that first single for the EP, or are you talking like, or is it full throttle through the years, all everything you've released kind of building to the EP?
Not everything
Okay.
I've released so far will be on the EP because I because one of the reasons is because I write so much. Like I want it out there. Like I
Yeah,
want to share this with the world. I want to share my art with the world. So witches will be on the EP. I'm not going to tell you which one of the other songs are on the
fair.
EP. You have to
Very
wait
fair.
and give it a listen.
Yeah, fair. I will. So I will give it a listen. So it's all good. Um, so as you're kind of in the process of working on all this, what's kind of running through your mind right now? Where are you kind of at mentally?
I mean, I'd love to tour. That's sort of the next step where my brain's going. I'm like, okay, I'll release the EP. I know I want to release a charity single as well. And then I really want to tour. I don't think I'd be at the big enough standard to come visit you over in the US yet. But even just like a little tour around the UK would be amazing. I want to go out and perform my original music with a
Yeah.
band and just experience that. Like I've done tours around the UK, but in like a musical theatre troupe,
Hmm.
a lot different. I'm
Yeah,
assuming to doing your own music.
for sure. Especially, would you tour as like yourself as a solo artist, or would you have like a band with you?
I'd have a band with me to
Okay.
perform. Yeah, do my live music.
Yeah. That'll probably be the hardest part of it, is trying to find the band that is willing to commit to a week, 2 weeks, like however long the tour is. That'll be the
That is,
hardest part.
yeah,
So,
that is the hardest thing. And it's one of the reasons why I went solo.
mhm.
Like I tried to be in so many like duos and bands, and they just didn't have the same commitment level. So it's why I decided to go solo. Although, and I'm not sure you're aware of this, I have actually formed a little side project duo now with someone who does have the same commitment levels as me, and that is called Oakley Star.
Okay.
And that's with my friend Ziggy, and that's
Okay.
an Americana, very blues roots like duo. Should check us out on Instagram. We're going to take over the world.
I will check them out. I did not know that, but I'm glad you brought it up.
There
So,
you go.
no, that's really cool that you're kind of exploring different options. You've got your solo project, but now you're trying to figure out, like, you've found a partner in a duo that'll is kind of carrying the same commitment as you. And I think you'll find that both of them, although are probably different, they're obviously different projects. I think you'll find that it'll be simultaneously fulfilling.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like it never worked out before when I did
Mhm.
duos and bands. And so I had to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. And now I'd say that I'm quite accomplished as a solo artist. And I feel
Mhm.
like now it was the universe going, well, there you go. You've put the work in. Now I'm going to give you what you want. You can
Yeah.
have both.
Yeah.
So I feel very lucky to be able to do this and do Oakley Star. And Ziggy, who I'm in Oakley Star with, she is like my biggest cheerleader when it comes to
That's
my solo stuff as well. So it's incredible.
that's that's really cool. That's really cool. So as you build towards the EP, obviously you mentioned you're hoping to tour the UK, which that'll be fun. Like I I've recently myself started building out little tours for the podcast. Like I'm just basically picking one location and just kind of driving there and then coming back. So I'm just trying to get the podcast into more of a live atmosphere. So that's fun and exciting. Except I don't have my team with me. They
Mm.
can't commit to the same time commitments that I can make. So it's kind of like, oh, this isn't quite as fun as I wanted it to be, but it's still cool to kind of get out
Yeah.
and do my
It's
thing. So
lonely at the moment, but you're doing it.
yeah. Oh yeah. It'll be fun when we can string several different shows together and be like, oh hey, that work that I need you to miss for this, I can actually pay you to miss that work. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a whole thing, but I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So um so Witches is out now. You got the EP coming. How often are you playing shows right now? Are you playing pretty consistently or
So it's been a slow beginning of the year, but I find that the beginning of the year usually is, and then
Mhm.
sort of after Easter, it sort of plods along gradually, have like
Yeah,
a gig every month, and then it goes zoom,
yeah, fair.
and you're gigging every weekend.
I
And
think I think that's about par for the course just about
yeah,
anywhere. So uh
once festival season hits, it's like zoom.
yeah. I'm glad that I realized that you guys hadn't done your time change yet for daylight savings time because I would have been sitting here like an hour early, been like, where's she at? Where's she at? Like for whatever reason, I thought you guys had already went through your time change, and then for whatever reason, I was talking to somebody that's also based out of the UK, and they're like, yeah, it's like 9 o'clock, 9 at night or whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, it's 6 o'clock here or whatever, or no, it was 4 o'clock, whatever it is, whatever the time change ended up being. And I'm like, wait a minute, that math doesn't add up. It's 6 hours, not five. That's yeah. Then I realized like, oh, you guys haven't gone through time change yet. So, but it was so good. I got to sleep in, so I'm happy.
Awesome. See,
Yeah,
look.
nice. So outside of music, what do you like to do? I know you mentioned that you were watching a whole bunch of horror films
Oh yeah.
earlier.
I'm
So
a massive like horror fan, and that's one of the other like little random things that is on my vision board is to be in a horror film.
nice.
Specifically, I'd really like to be in a Rob Zombie horror film, but I just I don't know what it is. Some people may call me odd or strange, but I just find comfort in horror films.
Yeah.
I have ever since I was little. I walked downstairs one day. My parents were watching A Nightmare on Elm Street. Boom, fell in love. Ever since then, I was hooked. Like,
Sure.
can you see
Nice.
that? Like, I have
Yep.
Freddy, and
Yeah.
it's growing. It's growing.
I need to go back. So when I was younger, I didn't like horror films because for whatever reason, I watched when I was like 9 or 10 years old. My friends thought it'd be cool to go watch Scream because Scream had just come out. That kind of gives you a idea how old I am. Um, so Scream had just come out and everybody wanted to go watch it, and I was like, I don't know what Scream is, but I'll go watch it. And then the opening scene scared the living you know what out of me. And I'm like, okay, I'm never watching a horror, I'm never watching scary movies again, not doing it. And then as I got older, I started watching started dipping my feet back in. Like I'd watch Freddy versus like the really corny horror films like Freddy versus Jason, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this isn't bad. And then I like started going back in. So some of those earlier horror films that scared the life out of me, I need to go back and like rewatch just to kind
Yeah.
of, you know. So,
I
but
mean, I just don't scare easily. I
yeah,
jump very easily. Like I make myself jump. I'm the sort of person that will forget that I put
yeah,
bread in the toaster will pop, and I'm like, but honestly, I just don't scare easily. I think the last film I got actually scared by was The Grudge when I was
okay,
about 13.
yeah,
And what the Japanese just know how to make horror.
yeah,
They are like elitist when it comes to making horror movies. And there was something about that just I think it was the noise. Like the noise still puts me on edge to this day.
yeah,
And I'm the type of person that will watch a horror movie at 3 o'clock in the morning if I can't sleep.
yeah.
So there's something special about The Grudge.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. What's kind of your do you have like a type of horror film? Do you like the more paranormal stuff? Do you like the more slasher stuff? What's kind of your, what do you kind of like or prefer, I guess?
So I have love for all of them,
Hmm.
but I would say due to sort of like the ones that started it off, so it was like Nightmare on Elm Street, which,
Hmm.
like you stressed, is a very corny horror movie.
Yeah,
Like, and then I love Rob Zombie's horror films, which
yeah,
some people would put it under like the trash horror
yeah,
category, like the ones that don't take themselves too seriously.
yeah,
And I think if I'm seeking comfort, Blood and Guts is the way to go.
yeah.
But I do also, I love a movie that gets me thinking and gets me questioning things. So it depends on my mood, really.
Fair. Yeah, fair enough. There's only one movie that I can't really watch, or one horror film that I can't really watch, and it's the new Pet Cemetery. For whatever,
Really?
it's not that the movie scares me or whatever, it grosses me out, just like the whole concept of it. And so for whatever reason, I just don't, that's not one of my favorites. But like I said, I like the corny, like not necessarily Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, but like when they did the Freddy versus Jason
Mm.
or Halloween, or what was the one where he went Michael Myers went to space or whatever. And I think it was like Halloween X or something.
What are you like with like Blood and Guts then?
I'm fine. Like that stuff, I'm
So
fine.
do you like the Terrifier series?
I watched the first one at somebody's recommendation. I have not been able to find the second one. I know there's a second one out there.
I
So
just find them so funny.
fair. Um, I love the It remake. I was never really a fan of the original It just because Tim Curry doesn't scare me. Like
He's not very scary. He was brilliant in that film.
Yeah,
But I understand you sort of look at him and you think of oh, his name's escaped me. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
yeah,
Dr.
yep,
Frankenfurter.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Eh,
you think of Tim Curry, that's usually where your brain goes.
oh yeah, it that and the like for whatever reason he doesn't scare me. So it's just kind of like, okay, I'm good on this movie. So or on this one, but like the remake was good. Part two was okay. It kind of lost me a little bit. I was really hoping that they were going to do like a part three, like an origin stories of Pennywise. I thought that would have been kind of interesting, but you know,
I'm just, if I'm honest, I am fed up with Hollywood just rinsing like old movies.
hmm,
Like it seems that everything that comes out nowadays is either a reboot or a
yep,
sequel or a reimagining. And
yeah,
I'm like, get an original thought,
oh yeah,
please, Hollywood. Like, and they're doing it to movies that really do not need remaking. Like, do
hmm,
I need to mention The Crow?
yeah,
Leave it alone.
yeah. Fair.
Leave it alone. It was perfection the first time.
It's actually one of my favorite things to do is where I live here in Texas. We have a film festival that comes around. I think it's in July, so every July, and the opening, or yeah, the it's either the opening night or the closing night of the film festival at midnight. They do a horror screening, so it's all the short films that are horror films, and I enjoy going to that because it's like originality and like people that are going into like history, like historical moments and flipping them into horror films. There was a Jewish horror film based around some kind of like Jewish folklore, I think, and that was kind of interesting. And it was like these were movies that were like original concepts, and it was like, okay, that's really cool. I enjoy
That
this.
sounds
Somebody needs to
awesome.
do something with these. So
That sounds awesome.
nice.
Like the horror genre is just snubbed. Like,
Yeah,
look at the Oscars and stuff. Like, it's almost just forgotten about. And there has been some absolute masterpieces in our time.
yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. So, um, so other than that, what do you like to do other than watch horror movies and make music?
I love being out in nature.
Sure.
I'm a big sort of bit of a hippie like that. Like I'm a tree hugger me. Plant me in like the mountains with some woods around me. Like I'm happy. I spend a lot of time with my godson and my nieces and nephews and working
Mm.
basically alongside trying to, make it in the music industry. I still have to, you know, fund a roof over my head. So working.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all of us at this point in the game. So I feel the pain. It's one of those like, man, I wish I could just not have to work so I could focus on this all the time. And maybe I wouldn't be dead tired by the time I get home. So,
True. And I do 15-hour shifts as well.
oh, wow.
Yeah. Like it's a lot. I mean, I'm lucky that I do something that I love,
Mhm.
but it is a lot.
Fair. Very fair. Very fair. So, kind of looking into the summer, do you have a like a release or do you have any idea as to when you want to have the EP released, or is it just kind of all up in the air right now?
So I'd like to have the EP released by the end of the year. That's my goal.
Hmm.
Next single released by summer.
Okay. Sweet, sweet,
That's the
sweet.
plan.
Hopefully that, you kind of can get those timelines out and, I'm excited to listen to the next single and the full EP, but in the meantime, I will listen to Witches and everything else and I'll be completely content with it. So
Awesome.
awesome. So if anybody wants to check out your music, any upcoming shows, interact with you on social, follow you on TikTok because your TikTok is cool. I like watching your TikTok. So
Yeah, that's what I sometimes show, like the more loony bin side of me there.
yeah.
Like, I'll just be a bit daft and silly as well as promoting my music. So if you like to someone who can laugh at themselves but can also, hold a tune, follow Lauren Jennifer on TikTok.
Nice. Nice, nice. And do you have a website or anything, or is it
I
just like the
do.
social?
I do. It's www.laurenjennifer.uk.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute blast chatting
Thank
with
you
you.
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody that wants to support Lauren Jennifer, we'll have all her Spotify and all that stuff in the description below. So uh, please go check it out. Go check out Witches and all her new music as it kind of comes available. We really appreciate everyone. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. It's
Thank
been an
you so
absolute
much for
blast.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, we will catch you all later.